Yo, what's up, guys? This is Sergio. We're here for episode 2. We had Exceed for a special guest for podcast episode 1. So here we go. We've got Phoenix and Nfinity. So yeah, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Sam, do you want to go first this time, buddy?
Sure. What's going on, guys? I'm Sam Phoenix. I've coached in Call of Duty the past 12 years through Challengers and the CDL, and I also coached with the Seattle Surge for 2 years during that stint in the CDL as well as the Las Vegas Legion.
And I'm Nfinity. I am a Call of Duty caster. You might know me from Call of Duty Challenges, which I've been doing for the last 3 to 4 years, or most recently EWC, in which I casted for both Warzone and Modern Warfare 3. So
a little
Thanks for having me.
mixture. I mean, like this is like we said, we try to make this mainly challengers, but we got Phoenix over here who coaching the CDL, and then we've got Nfinity who's casted for a while, and we want him as a reoccurring co-host as well. So like we're glad to have you on board. Now let's get started. First thing here, as we can see on the screen, CDC Intel, they posted something about the rumored challengers rosters. So yeah, what are you guys' thoughts on that?
You go with this one first, Brody.
I mean, I feel like the asterisk we should add to these conversations, as always, with these kind of rosters, right, is that these probably will not stay the same. And I think this is also we're gonna come back to this conversation later on, right, with one of these rosters in particular. Especially with North American teams, they like to change like all the time, like week in, week out, they'll change. So these rosters probably won't even be the rosters even before Black Ops 6 launches. Let's be honest. But like first impressions, like you're always looking to pick out like the best team, right? For me, like I think you'd be a fool not to like immediately draw your eyes to like that Brack, Rex, and a Sim or a Sim roster, right? That's like the roster that got to the finals of like every single Challengers event last season, and that's like the one, at least for me, that I'm like, yeah, that is the one that you got to be looking at here.
I mean, I 1,000% agree. I think there's in Challengers, like Brody said, he kind of hit it right on the head. I don't think I can say it any better. Challengers teams change their rosters like every day, it seems like, especially in North America. So it's really hard to say anybody but that Brack team, who pretty much stayed together throughout the entire season, will actually stay together right now. There's like one new addition to that team, but the rest of the teams, I don't know. For me, I'm looking at how comps work and are built. I see a lot of teams that either don't have enough slaying power at very good positions, or their ARs are both just too slow of ARs. So I see a lot of these teams making changes relatively quick. If not before the first event, then definitely after. Definitely will happen before the first event. I will put everything I love on it. Like Challengers players, like they don't know how to win because they don't know how to stay together most of the time. They don't understand. Like
especially true for NA.
Like if you
Although
look
they've got better at it.
Look at my teams, Brody. Let's start from MW 2019 to Cold War when I first met you. My team was relatively the same. We made like 1 or 2 changes max, and they were kind of necessary changes under S&G for what was going on with the team. And then I went to Cold War. We made 1 change on my Western team, and we made 1 change on my Eastern team because Fellow got picked up by a pro team, and my whole Western team got picked up. So me and Tom had to make a new team. In my Seattle team, I was like, aside from FaZe, even FaZe, like we had like the longest standing roster at that point in the CDL. It was the same team for 2 years straight. I'm a firm believer that chemistry outweighs talent heavily. I don't think constantly swapping back and forth for players is going to make you any better. If anything, it makes you worse. So hopefully Challengers players can learn this year. Like take 50. Let's see if it happens.
Okay, so your top tip is to not change the team then. That's what you would say to any new teams.
I would say unless it's necessary.
Yeah.
Like if you have a person being like a really just toxic, cancerous person to the environment, then yeah, you move on from them. But if your team is just struggling a little bit and you're like, well, we got to make a change, I don't agree with it. Like the last year with my Vegas team, we made some changes. They didn't pan out. And I do believe at the end of the day that was like our worst mistake.
I would say as well, I think that like teams, if you stay together longer, because this is kind of a conversation point that we've been having in Challenges over the last couple of years, is like North American teams, I think, were behind Europe a couple of years ago because they would constantly make these changes. And European teams would just basically stick for months at a time. Yep. Maybe they'd make like 1 or 2 changes at most, but they wouldn't like blow up the roster like NA teams would. I think teams have gotten a lot better at it over the course of the last season, but you can see like success stories, going all the way back to like Reunited from like 2018, right? Before Reunited were even like a big thing, right? You got to remember that was a team that like in IW before they became like a massive squad, right? That like pro players were hitting like top 64 at events, and then they kind of stuck through the season, and ended up being as big as they were during that season. But like even more recently, Falcons, for example, a team that are now a CDL roster. Previously it was only the start of this season that they were top 6 in Europe, and then they got better and better to the point where you get to season 3 of Challengers Elite and they won the event, right? So sticking together, I think NA teams have got a lot better about it, but they definitely, I think it's very beneficial. Unless something is like systematically wrong with the roster, I think, sticking together is always the best way to go about things.
Yeah. And yeah, speaking of which, like with the teams, right? I gotta be careful what I say here. So yeah.
Mate, legal.
Some some of them did change, right? Some of them did. This was not 17 hours ago. This is when I screenshotted. It said 17 hours ago. This is probably a couple of days ago from when we're shooting this podcast. But yeah, I can say that probably 3 of them changed, and then the Flames and Fire, I know that team, but don't worry, Ja, I'm not gonna say your team, bro. Don't worry.
From this list, is there a roster that you could see yourself working with?
Yeah, let's go ahead and drop the bomb now, so everyone knows. I will be working with Brack, Dylan Rex, Asim, and Yeezy going into this next season. I think that team, like I said before, and when we just talked about like roster changes and challengers, I think that team is a team that's not going to make a lot of roster changes. They're going to stick together, and they're all going to be very coachable players. I think that's going to go a long way. That level of chemistry that they have from last season together. Plus, is you just look at all the talent on the team. Like I think Dylan Rex is super talented. Same with Yeezy. Even though people can say they want, I think Asim's a great player too. And I think that Carson's a great leader. And I think the whole team just meshes together. Every role plays great. The main AR in Carson needs to be slow and methodical. Dylan Rex, great slayer on a flex. Asim, a great flex sub. He's going to be the route man. You have Yeezy just making plays in S&D or just being that aggressive main sub. So that's who I'll be working with this upcoming Challenger season. That's the team that I most wanted to work with. I even talked to Carson throughout the offseason and told him he's one player that I really wanted to work with. Dak was as well. It didn't work out, unfortunately. But I love Carson as a player, and I think his upside as a leader and as a main AR is very high, along with the rest of that team.
Okay, cool. So there you go. There's the bomb right there. So if you're seeing +1, yeah, that's gonna be Yeez. So I think that roster is pretty insane. Like that's a really good roster. You got the core Phase Black trio that's been working for quite a while in the Mod for 3 season. Yeez, right? He took a break, but this guy, he's an absolute bona fide slayer. I mean, I'm a big fan of his game. So I mean, I'm excited to see that team. I think that team's definitely top 3 potential for sure. Another team that I think highly of too is like the Diamond Con Fame Exceed Yuli team. I think that one is still sticking for the time being. So yeah, we'll see what happens or where they go. Yeah, also, here we go. So you have unknown players at the moment, right? It's crazy they didn't even put Yeez in there, but there you go. Temp Hanzo, yeah. They even put him in there. I forgot about him. Yeah, if we're looking from it, if I were to guess some people from the unknown players at the time being, I'd probably say I did say Darkseid and Bink wants to play together, like old SGP, and we see Gunzy in the mix. If I were to, I didn't talk to them, but if I were to take a guess, I would say Gunzy will play with Darkseid and Bink. Okay, so yeah.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and that should be pretty good. Temp's still working on his team. Talk to him. He's still working on his team. I do know the possibles for him. Another thing that they missed out, I didn't screenshot this part, but it's all good. Major Maniac and No Johnny will be playing together, so that'll be pretty interesting to see that dynamic again.
Donald.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, they, they teamed up a little bit in the Marvel 3 season, and before Ojani got picked up to, Phoenix team, the Legions. So yeah, I mean, that's going to be interesting to see. And speaking of which, we see Encourage, right? So that's going to move us to the next part, which is Encourage joining FaZe Black. I will say this, right? He's on FaZe Black, but he's still a content creator for SGP. He loves SGP. He wants to stay on it as long as possible, unless he gets picked up to a CGL spot. So I appreciate Jordan a lot for that. This was news that I had to wait for him to announce. I had to bite my tongue a little bit. But yeah, Encourage. It's pretty interesting to see FaZe Black. Go a different route from Brack or Exceed or any of those guys, right? But they have a lot of belief in the young guns, and Yeah, I mean, like as Zuma's talking about right now in the video that's showing about the whole entire, him picking up Encourage, him picking up Abe, right? It's gonna be a team of two for so far. From what I've heard, they want to pick up Lurks, um, and they want to pick up Derek the Goat, which I feel like I can share this. Jordan wants to play with Derek the Goat for challengers, so there you go. That's a little intel there. We're gonna gloss over this real quick. This is the Black Ops 6 stuff. I mean, Infinity or Sam, if you guys want to talk about, Black Ops 6 a little bit, like what you guys see on your screen. That's we're just scrolling down through, some of the stuff they have. Like you have the field upgrades, the gun attachments. Like, what do you guys think so far? Do you think this game is promising? Like, is it showing good upside?
I think the game will I'm not worried about balancing or anything like that, even though the beta was kind of concerning with the Jackal being as overpowered as it was, right? Like if there's one thing Treyarch have always gotten right, it's the balancing. Every Treyarch game has always had insane balancing. The only game that maybe was a bit meh on it was Cold War with the sniper rifles. That was really about it. So I'm not really worried about that. I'm not really worried about anything game wise. The only I think thing the game will live and die on is the maps. I'm yet to see what the maps will be like competitively for Black Ops 6. I think the closest we've had to a competitive map that we've actually played so far was, I think it was the Skyline was the map or something, right? The rooftop one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Was it called Skyline?
I don't remember.
Whatever the rooftop one was from the beta. That's the closest I think we've had so far to a competitive map. So everything else, I think it's going to be perfectly fine. I'm not worried at whatsoever. But I am curious to see what the maps are going to be like. That's where my kind of thought process is right now.
No, well, it ain't Infinity Ward. It's at least Treyarch, right? So you're bound for a good game. Treyarch always makes good games for us. I can't remember when they've let us down. They're the best developer that COD has. I see the competitive season being one of the best this year, simply because it is Treyarch. As far as the guns and the maps go, I agree with Brody on especially on the map side of things. It's going to be map dependent. Like Cold War had very good maps in my opinion. The only map that was garbage was Garrison. I don't know how people like that
I
map.
like Garrison, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I was a fan of that map.
Yeah, the one lane map, so amazing.
You just gotta get good, bro. You just gotta get good.
Yeah, that's what it is. No, I mean I just think that the maps will probably be fine. The majority of the maps in Cold War were really good.
Yeah.
For me, I'm gonna give Black Ops 6 a chance. I have a lot of hope for it because it has been a long time. Like there has not been a Black Ops game that has given me the same excitement as when I first played Black Ops 2.
Oh, good time.
Like for me, that was peak time, even for the competitive scene for COD. I think with Ghost and Advanced Warfare was the best, and I'm hoping that I'll get the same excitement with this new Call of Duty game. Hopefully.
Yeah, sounds good. And it's funny you brought up Garrison Control. I mean Garrison Control was kind of rough, man. It was kind of rough. I did not enjoy that.
Hardpoints sucked. What was the first hill in Garrison Hardpoints? A long fucking walkway. What is that? That is just ridiculous, bro. You get spawn trapped on Garrison Control nonstop. They put that map in there and thought they popped, man. They even had that in there for S&D for a bit.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Awful. Bomb was literally in the middle of the ground, just in the wide open.
In the vent,
is it
bad?
I think it played best on S&D of the 3 modes. To be honest, I don't know.
Can you see me staring at you right now?
Oh yeah, I can. I mean, let's be honest. It wasn't great in any of the 3 modes. It was particularly bad. But
I mean, I love Moscow. I was a big Moscow fan.
Yeah,
I love that map.
Moscow was the best map in that game. Yeah.
Moscow was amazing for. I even thought it was good for Control. To be honest with you, I didn't think it was bad.
Raid.
What do you mean?
You're missing a raid. You're missing raid and
okay,
standoff.
yeah.
Standoff is a great S&D map.
It fun,
would have been terrible for Hardpoint.
I wasn't thinking about the Black Ops 2 maps when I said that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We should have mentioned Miami.
I mean, Miami was a good S&D map. I'll say that it wasn't bad. All the maps in that game just weren't bad in general. They weren't maps I look at and go, "Wow, I hate it." I would take Garrison over a lot of maps that I've seen. Okay, I would take Garrison over Fortress. Okay, I don't know what that map was. I don't know what Infinity Ward was designing when they made Fortress, but they made that shit. Whereas I feel like Infinity Ward will leave the game broken for forever if they can.
Yeah.
Because they just don't care about the development of the actual competitive side of COD.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that out of spite. Those were the exact words out of a dev's mouth during Black Ops 4. that they don't care about the competitive side of Call of
Okay.
Duty or what we have to say.
I will say, to be fair, can we actually blame them for like not having a foot
No,
in the
not
when
completely, but
when competitive is like less than 5% of the player base?
yeah, I mean, you can't. You really can't. I can't really attest to that, but I can attest to them trying to make their product as a whole better because the game itself, outside of competitive, still sucks when they make it. It's not fun in pubs. The worst pubs are Infinity Ward pubs. They're literally the worst pubs in the world. It's still terrible. It's not good at all. My point, awful developer. Get them out of here. Make the
Gotcha.
space better.
Gotcha. All right, we're gonna move on. We got the rotation they tweeted out recently, right, about the new major locations, right? Yeah. At first, my sources told me Vegas at first, right? I just said that in the first episode, and then I heard Anaheim a little bit later after I posted a podcast. I was like, dang, man, my sources is kind of outdated a little bit. And then now, right, with the rotation, he dropped a bomb, and with Barcelona being the first major and scheduled for end of January, early February. Now, for personal reasons, right, I'm kind of glad it's in December because I'm going to be in Indonesia. So, like, yay, I get to make it to this one. Also, EU major, yay, I get to go. It's just pretty cool.
You're in Indonesia? I didn't even know that.
No, I'm going to be in December.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay,
that's why I was like, oh, man, if it's like the second week December, right? Like, wasn't like it was supposed to be the second week of December, then I'm like, oh, shoot, I can't make it, for the wedding.
But now you might be able to.
I might be able to now, yeah. So,
Nice.
yeah. What you heard about with the Vegas at first, like, was that actually something that was credible?
Well, you talking about like Falcons coming in?
For the one of the majors, yeah.
Them hosting a major? I haven't heard much about that. I heard what the majors were gonna be, but I mean, again, we heard that there was gonna be a major in Charlotte last year, and then we ended up in a shack in California. So, like we can't really put too much like credibility into what they're saying or what they're thinking. We kind of just have to play it by ear and see if they actually deliver what they say they're going to deliver this season. I think that's the big thing. Like, it would be great to have an international event. I think that'd be massive for the Call of Duty community. The last great event, in my opinion, we had was the one in MW 2019. Where was it at again, Brody? The EU major. It was like one of the last majors. Yeah.
Oh, well, we had well, there was two. Were you
It
talking
was
about challenges
London
or just like actual major?
The major, London,
The major
right?
was London.
That was one, the Empire one, right? Yeah, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That was one of the best last events that we had. And it's
It was
because
in London, baby.
the crowd is just, and the environment is just so different in places like that. And I think it's super cool just to like, I don't know, see a major there possibly.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. Like, even if it's not in London, like the Spanish are fucking crazy. Excuse my language about Call of Duty. They are wild.
Oh yeah.
They get rowdy, bro. Like, they might rival London. We haven't had a pro event there yet, to be honest with you. And if you guys aren't aware, if you ever looked at like Spanish players following, they're all huge. And it's because Spain is very big into esports and very big into Call of Duty specifically. And I think going to Barcelona first event, that would be like insane. That shit's gonna go crazy.
Yeah.
The other events, like I could do without a Chicago one. Being straight up with you, like I could do without a Chicago one.
What's wrong with Chicago?
I mean, Chicago sucks. And it's just terrible, dude. Like, it's like going to a worse New York City major. Like, Major 4 in Vanguard was terrible. I didn't like that either. It was like $70 for an Uber trip because it's New York City and it takes forever and you're in traffic everywhere. I think they could put in. I don't mind like Miami. I mean, granted, last year's Florida event went kind of crazy in a bad way. But I do think like places like in California or Vegas would be better than Chicago, personally. I think one of the best events we've had, and we've only had 2 of them, are Vegas events. We had one in, no, sorry, 3. No, only 2. We had one in BO4 and we had one in IW. And that was like the first event of IW, and it was like the first or second event of, I think it was the first event of BO4 as well.
I think it was first event of BO4, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like those events were always super good. I think if you want to like get crazy, I think you get rid of Chicago and put like London in there. To be honest with you, like I don't think that's bad. You have a lot of London players, like English players in the CDL. Like Toronto is all English players besides one person. Who else am I missing right now? I'm missing somebody else too. I know I am. It's not just Toronto. Oh, like the Carolina team for a long time had a ton of like English players, and I think it'd just be good for like the EU COD space itself, especially like the challenger side, to have like a pro event there. I think it would like help boost the morale in that like region a
Yeah.
little bit more. It would give players like something to see and something to play for.
Mhm.
When again, the last time EU players got to watch a LAN in person was in MW 2019.
Mhm.
That was the last time. Like I think if
It's
you
crazy.
give that back to the space in EU, because
Yeah.
we need the EU space to thrive.
Yeah.
Okay, because APAC ain't thriving. So we need the EU space to thrive because we need to get other young players from that region too to go to the CDL. That's how we keep the CDL alive.
It absolutely is going to be huge. I think like the fact that we finally got a European event after years of not having anything for Europe is
5.
crazy. Yeah, it's just insane. And the fact of the matter is, the last European event is like still. I don't think it's unrivaled anymore. I think because I actually wasn't there, but as I'm aware, at least the Optic Texas champs was like insane. Apparently, like the crowds were
Yeah, that's
huge. Whatever.
champs though. That's not a normal event. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
I think it was because it was Optic as well. I think
yeah,
like the Optic fan base,
it's
you know,
Optic.
going
It's in
off for Optic
Texas.
being, you know,
Yeah.
Optic being in the grand finals, you know, winning, you know, there were kind of a few circumstances that I think changed that. But yeah, I think like it's going to be crazy for the atmosphere. The thing I do want to say about it that made me laugh was all the fucking Challengers players whining on Twitter about this event, right? Like all the North American Challengers players were like, "Oh, I can't believe I've got to fly to a place that's not in America for an event." Oh no!
What do you think EU players have been doing?
Yeah, I was gonna say this is what everybody outside America has been doing for the last 5 years. Okay, you can deal with it for one event. It's bloody Barcelona. It's gonna be a beautiful event.
Well, they should have given 2 international events. That's just my point. Like, it's so good for the Call of Duty like community and space to put it in EU spaces. Like it would be so beneficial and so helpful. I get why, because it's a little more expensive
More
to like
expensive, yeah.
for like the orgs, because you gotta think about it too. When these events come out, the teams themselves are like helping pay for the event and host the event most of the time. The only time that didn't happen was in the Pro-Am that was in Columbus, Major 4 in Columbus, and Major 4 last year. The league
Yeah.
paid for those because they had to. And those were also like the worst events. We were playing in a shack in Columbus and we were playing in a shack in California. You look at other esports too, like we're the only esport that's predominantly North American events all the time. Like
Yeah.
you think about that, that's logical. Like
Oh,
CS:GO is
Technically,
majorly international.
Halo is also.
Yeah, okay, but I don't even consider that an esport at this point anymore. Okay, like
Oh,
like I mean, dude, they're literally dying. Like I have a lot of friends at Halo that are great guys, but your esports dying right now. Like, just gonna be honest. So you look at like every major, let's put it this way, every major esport, okay, CS:GO, Valorant, Overwatch, all
Mhm.
these events are 6. They are in Stockholm, they're in other countries. They're rare. Like there's like 2 events in North America, and Overwatch there was like none in North America. I mean, there was one. There's DreamHack Dallas this year, and then their only other event they have is finals or their champs, and it's in Stockholm in Sweden. Okay, so why can't we do that as a space in Call of Duty?
and also like just to have a peek on how big this is gonna be, like for a thing to happen in Barcelona, is that at the esports awards, the top streamer in the world was a Spanish streamer.
Mm-hmm.
Is because the scene is huge over there, and then they have the benefit that there is 21 countries that speak the language. They speak Spanish. So speak Spain. They speak Spanish. So
I know, I laughed.
I just had to laugh about myself about that. It's actually my first language, so it even makes it forced. Um, but yeah, it's huge over there, and they reach out to 21 countries every time that they stream anything. So the reach is incredible. The support of the community is massive. Like the craziest one that I've ever seen in any other continent. It's amazing. So I'm looking forward to see how this is gonna look like in Barcelona.
Yeah,
I
and
agree.
also like when it comes to international events, I feel like for me, I don't want the challenger scene to die. Not just because I'm in the challengers aspect, it's because like, it's good for the scene to always have that type of stuff. I mean, and when it comes to the league, hopefully they can generate more revenue so they can actually add more support to challengers so we can actually do international events. It does make sense that we don't have more international events. And I also see the other coin about a lot of these amateur orgs, because I mean they're amateur orgs, they're not professional. Be worried about the fact that like, hey man, I have to spend for funding, for flights, hotels, and all that stuff to travel abroad multiple times. But it is true though, like I mean, the Call of Duty League needs to get back to CWL World League where you're going to different events. I mean, like for me, right? It should be different locations each time because it's a great way to travel the world even more so. I'm glad that there is a Barcelona because I've never been there and it's cool to go there. London, like I've been there one time, but just like passing by. So like it's cool
It's
to
not that
have that
great.
back. Yeah. It'd be
London.
cool to have
Cloudy
that
all the
back.
time.
It's
I'm
cloudy all
with
the
you,
time.
Brody.
It's not great. Yeah, it's not nice weather.
It's gray.
I mean, listen. It's not about the weather, bro. It's about the environment there, baby. All right, like
I struck a
some good
chord.
old banter, some good fish and chips, bro. Nothing hits different. A
Struck a
good
major chord
Nando's,
here.
bro.
Just
Like,
have
oh,
some good Thai food and you're
yo,
good.
let's get
Dude,
some
yeah.
Nando's, Brody.
London does have some like good world food.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
anything not British is what you can't
Yeah,
do.
agree. Yeah.
I mean, Germany too, right? Frankfurt, right? I mean, that's a nice place. Like I no, like I visited for a little bit. I mean, it's such a great place. Asia, I mean, like now I know that's super expensive, but like, come on now, like I mean, people in Asia love esports.
Gaming. They
Yeah,
love it.
especially you
Mm,
can ask Eileen and Brody. Like they've been to EWC, like to Saudi Arabia. I mean, you treat that like like esports is like soccer there. You know what I'm saying? Like they
yeah.
really treat that. I showed up and all of a sudden, instead of Verizon or any other network system, it was basically esports World Cup. And I was like, whoa, like that's crazy. They take that stuff seriously. And who wouldn't want, like for me, I mean, I would love a Tokyo event or Singapore event like that. I mean, you guys have to come to Singapore. It's so nice. Yeah.
I mean, and the crazy thing about the EWC is that for all the other players for different games that were not set in Asia, um, the fans didn't travel to Saudi Arabia to see them. Some of them, yes, they did. But whenever there was an Asian team, guys, like everyone was there. All of their fans were
They go
queuing up to
crazy.
meet them.
Hmm.
And actually, that made me so happy. I was like, this is so awesome, guys. Like, when are we going to get to that point that the fans travel to Saudi Arabia just to go and see their favorite teams?
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they'll get there when it's more culturally accepted for what it is. And again, I get small things. I watch like the OW, like Asia Land to qualify for champs, and like their whole crowd was filled to the brim with people. They were very excited to watch. They didn't miss a single bit of the action that was taking place. And some of the fans that came were from Japan.
Yeah.
Okay, they went to Korea to watch their team play. Yeah, they got decimated, but like they watched them go play.
Yeah.
Like Eileen saying, like when's it gonna get to the point when North American fans are gonna travel to watch their teams? Like
Mhm.
we can't complain about the space growing when you're not even willing to go watch and support. And I get not everyone can afford to go fly to fucking,
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia or to Korea or Japan. I get that, but there's like no fans at all going. You're telling me there's not a single person in the world that can go? Like, no, I just don't want to. That just shows like a lack of interest in the esport for me. To be honest with you, there's just there has to be a lack of interest in Call of Duty for that to be the case. To be
Okay,
honest with you,
I will say though, like it has to be a steady approach to international
yeah,
expansion, right? You can't just full send it. Like
Mhm.
you cannot put an event in, for example, to use one of the examples we've used already here, you can't just throw an event in Singapore and expect it to be a
yeah.
successful event because
Yeah.
that's not going to happen.
Mhm.
You have to slowly integrate other
You gotta do like
regions
London,
into the
Spain
esports.
first. You gotta do
Yeah,
like
like
countries that people can actually afford to go to first.
like yeah, even Barcelona is actually a bit of a surprise to me. Like I didn't
Yeah, that's a
expect to see
stretch.
Barcelona being, because like you got to think we don't actually have a Spanish franchise in the league. Heretics is the closest thing we've got.
Yeah, I mean,
I
yeah,
know
they are
Heretics
one.
is a Spanish like franchise, but it's not a Spanish,
Yeah.
like it's Miami, right? They represent Miami, so it's kind of like even that is a stretch. I'm very surprised to see it. So I think there's a kind of a part and parcel thing going on there where it's just like I think you can
Do
do international expansion, but you also kind of have to do international expansion elsewhere. You have to start focusing on expanding your participation in other regions, I think, at the same time.
Interesting aspect about that you just mentioned. I mean, as you show on the screen, I mean, you would think Barcelona, the Heretics, Spanish, would be
Yeah.
hosting that, but according to these news here, it looks like Toronto / KOY. But again, Toronto is
Koi.
owned by a Spanish organization, so like I get that.
Yeah, I thought
But
so.
that is very interesting because you have that, and then you're supposed to have a Toronto location, but then you also have a Miami with the Heretics, so it's kind of like a little bit confusing on my end. But if that's true, then I mean that is interesting. You would think, maybe ditch Miami, right? Go Miami Heretics, boom, Barcelona, Toronto with Toronto, and then maybe put in Anaheim. Like Anaheim would be cool in another location, and then
Yeah.
bring that back.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. The good old bar
Isn't that
days in
very expensive?
Anaheim.
It is.
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
and I think
Mhm.
Anaheim's. I mean, any California event's going to be expensive, but it's at least travelable for people to go to, and it's a very popular event. It was like usually one of the most packed events every year during the CWL was Anaheim.
Yeah.
And there's more
So
direct flights.
okay, like we're gonna go to these places. You gotta gradually work into those because if you initially just drop the bomb of we're going to Japan, guys, no one's going. Like
I will.
no one's going.
I I will query it a little bit by saying that like I don't necessarily think we'll ever get to a point where
Yeah.
events in Asia specifically would be
Fuck
successful for Call of Duty.
Well, it's not as
Just because
popular in
I
Asian
just think
countries, in my opinion.
Call of Duty, not just as an esport, but a game, is just not as popular in the
Yeah,
East
it's not.
comparatively to the West. If we're doing Call of Duty Mobile, sure, you know,
Yeah.
then you can start to have
Yeah.
events in the East. But like, you know, I think Call of Duty fundamentally, you know, not even just as an esport, but also just as a video
Mhm.
game, is just more popular in the West than the East by quite a large margin. And so I think
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever a realistic goal
And
to
it's
expect events outside the West.
I feel like if you work out the right system, it could be very lucrative too as well. You could, even though it might be expensive to expand to Asia, bro, like you can get a big facility, right? Or like what venue, whatever. And Asians, they love esports. So it's like you could flood that up and you can rack it up too. If you want to rack up the concessions like it happened with champs, like where I'm spending $10 for a water bottle. Like, my goodness, you know what I'm saying? You could do that too in Asia and nobody really cares.
COD does not pay like other esports do that they can get into, like League of Legends, like Dota, like Rocket League, like even like for example, even like Overwatch. You don't even have to spend an arm and a leg on a team right now, and you can get a crazy good team, not pay them that much, and still get a good payout from it. Okay, like there's no real ROI for a lot of these big like Asian orgs and teams to get into Call of Duty. There's no incentive to them. Like, why would we get into a
Well,
space that is 10 times further behind than the spaces that we're currently in?
yeah, I mean, there's no ROI for any orgs. Let's be honest. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
The only organization, the single organization that's making any ROI, and even then it's questionable, is Optic.
Yeah,
Like
no,
that.
they definitely are making ROI. They definitely are.
Yeah,
They-
that's it. And I don't know that. For a
yeah, no,
fact, but
like
that's just
they're definitely the only team that makes money because there's no making. Like, we talked about this like before we started this, Brody. Like, there's been one Call of Duty player that's came through COD, and I'll say it out loud on the podcast, that has earned the right to say that they deserve like a crazy contract, and that's Scump.
Mhm.
And it's because Scump can bring ROI, investors, sponsors, like big sponsors to big money to an org, whereas a lot of players, it's not that they can't do it, it's that they're not. When it comes to the esport itself, it's just sad to say that it's in a place now where only thing we can do is hope.
Mhm.
We can't guarantee that it's going to be good. We could guarantee that it's going to be bad more than we could that it's going to be good. Okay, and I think that's sad, personally.
Yeah.
Like that
Crap.
shouldn't be that way. I hope it goes in a better direction. And sorry if that was too blunt for your podcast and the people
No,
that
you're
are going to
good.
end up hearing this. I just think that they need to accept facts. That way, even if you don't make it to the pro league, at least you have a chance of like actually getting a degree and being useful. Because I don't think people are very useful. After like let's look at all of the useful people that played challengers till they were 27. Okay, like go to college, get a degree, take care of yourselves. Okay, because if you guys aren't aware, there's 48 pro players. That is like out of the millions of people that play Call of Duty, that is like literally 0.00001% of the population. Okay, there's a very high chance that you will not be in that percentage. Okay, so I advise people to get a college degree to set themselves up, because if it does not work for you, and there is a higher chance that it'll not work more than it will, do that. Like, you have very few players that are in the CDL right now or in challengers that could go to the CDL. Like, there's not a lot that are actually going to get their chance unless Encourage and Ryan and Derek start frying, and they're like the truth at 18. There'll be only 3 players, by the way, out of thousands that get a chance. Okay, like there's not very many. Like, how many roster? There's not even that many roster changes in the CDL, anyways. A lot of the time, it's not a ton. Like, there's like you have your LAT moments where they made 50 in 1 year. But, like, that's, like, very rare. That doesn't happen. So you already have a low chance as it is to get in. You could win and not get in. Okay? Like, it's just better to set yourself up now for success rather than set your guys' self up for failure.
I mean, it's like how some American universities do, like for Rocket League as well. Like they have teams from each university. and then they
we
support
have
them to
that,
go
yeah.
into tournaments and everything. So yeah,
They can also they also go to tier 1 events now this year. If you guys didn't know that, like
Mhm.
college teams can also in college esports can go to like tier 1 events, like challengers events, stuff like that. So why not just put it through college so kids can actually get a degree?
Well,
They can actually be.
college is only like an American only thing. So like
I
that kind
mean,
of
there's
system
is it not a college
would
esports?
limit it.
Is it not college? I mean, again, I can understand that part because it's going to affect the EU. But why can't they also start doing that too? I don't. I don't.
Because
I don't.
it's
I don't
not.
know how it works over there. It's probably different. I get. So I'm curious, like how it wouldn't work over there. Like there's like FAFSA stuff like that in the
It gets
US.
paid for. The UK,
Like
like you pay for it on loan, basically.
Okay, so yeah, that's and I imagine it's probably not nearly as expensive as the US. Like it's
no,
ridiculously expensive. So
it's pretty cheap compared to the US. I did my BA and masters in the UK for
okay,
that specific reason,
Wait,
but
where did you go? Where did you go? Which uni?
to Falmouth University in Cornwall.
Oh, cool.
Hmm.
But
Nice.
the thing
Nice.
is, like, I agree with you. It wouldn't work in the UK to make those
Okay.
programs when it comes to like making esports teams
Yeah.
unless there is like a whole degree about it, like esports something. And then, yeah, maybe they can make a team, but it's so different. It just wouldn't work.
it's unfortunate because like the system we have now sets up 26-year-old men with nothing after they're done, bro. Like again, I could make a list of like I could make a list of like 300 people that probably look back and go, Jesus, I wish I would have got a degree or I would have did something. Like, there's no way that they don't. Like, you know how many people play till they're like 26 years old? A lot of people, bro. And it's like you're in your mid 20s now. You have not made it in COD yet, and you have nothing behind it. Like, I have a lot of respect for North American players that at least like go to like play college COD,
Yeah.
even if it's just so they can get money and play for free, whatever it may be. They're at least getting a degree out of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like what are most like AMP players really getting out of their situation they're in right now? They're going and playing at what 30, 40 events, and they're getting nothing out of it.
Oh, shoot.
Wait.
Like,
I'm not laughing
This
at that page. It's like, man, we went a different turn here. Holy crap. Oh shoot. We went
it'll be
yeah.
good, it'll be
We
good
went
content.
far off topic.
What were we talking about again?
Far off
we
topic.
we started at the event.
We're far off topic here.
Major ones in Barcelona, right?
Yeah, we were talking about Barcelona.
Yeah. Oh man, shoot.
Oh,
All right. I'm gonna sound like Valkyrie, back on track. Back on track here. Yeah. So on our screen, we've got, we already talked about Sam's team, and yeah. With Flames, he leaked RC's gunless deck and who is it? Yeez? Yeah. RC's gunless deck and Yeez. And then you see there's a funny comment by Flames like, what the F, man? Like, why'd you freaking have to reiterate that, But like,
I mean, he did it. What do you mean?
he did do it for 50
He did
gifted.
it.
I mean, from what he told me, right? He said, hey, the guy gave him 50 gifted already. He saw an opportunity. He said, hey, you want that information? You might as well give me 50 gifted. So, hey, yeah, he got the 50 gifted. Smart guy. I would have done it.
Hey,
I would have done
fair
it.
Enough, fair enough.
Yeah, so like there you go. And the Major Maniac and Johnny, we told that team of two. Yeah, so just keep it going. That was that. Who knows what happens there?
I mean, I like the teams. I'm not gonna lie. I like the teams.
Yeah.
RC's, of course. He said he shouldn't be in challenges. Well, which what do you know? He's back in challenges this year. Gunless also back in challenges after like he did well enough on Rocker. I want to say like Gunless probably doesn't deserve to be back in challenges, but
Yeah, well,
there
I
you go.
mean, I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna put it on the screen here. I mean, it's not right now, but yeah, Gunless, right? I mean, Gunless.
He tweeted
Something
stuff,
happened.
right?
Something happened. Like Gunless. He was upset here.
Liam fucking Neeson or something like.
There you go. Yeah, people seem to effing think this isn't personal. Yeah, you're all effing trapped down here. I don't cuss, so like just bear with me. Trapped down here in the pit with me. This isn't effing business anymore. I'm coming to destroy every single effing one of you. Okay, yeah. So yeah, something happened. I mean, I think if you put two and two together, that team before that Flames leaked about the whole RC's gunless and stuff, I don't think that might be a team anymore. I think something happened. Maybe a team change or something, and gunless might be playing with someone different. This was just something also. Black Ops 6 Season 1 starting on November 14th. Great. Hopefully ranked play in Warzone are starting soon from what I've heard. I think Verdansk is coming out in late November. Some Warzone player told me that. I don't know. That would be pretty cool to see Verdansk back. And then
When's
finally,
the last time ranked came out early? I got a question on that.
I don't remember. I mean, it's
Hmm.
always been late.
Good question, right?
That's a very good question.
See you guys in February.
No, I think it'll be sooner this time around.
I'm
Hopefully.
hoping it's Treyarch and Treyarch I trust, brother.
Well, let's be fair.
We
It's not
gotta
like
wait.
The first thing you do is jump into ranked, is it?
I mean,
To
you
be
gotta
honest.
give it time for like the metas and stuff to work out anyway for ranked to actually even be like fun to play. If you're just playing ranked and it's a pub, then
Well,
like why don't you just go play a pub? Like,
with how GA based COD is
Yeah.
nowadays, I mean,
You have
ranked
to
is
wait.
sometimes not fun anyway. But because people don't adhere to the GAs.
Yeah.
I mean,
But-
it's just ranked isn't going to be fun because there's no set meta and how the game's being played. So it's just going to be randomness. So it won't even be like ranked at that point. You'll essentially be playing like a glorified pub.
Mm.
So like it's just not really worth to have it early. But I like to make fun of them when I can. That's all.
Yeah. It's a cycle.
Like,
It's a cycle with
Like-
rank play, you know what I'm saying? Like you come in, right? Oh well, there's cycle with new CODs. You come in, you're gonna have them eights, you're gonna have game balance is gone. You know, like Glacier said. I mean, that's unfortunate right there. I mean, what Glacier didn't say, but like he posted about it, like, you know, rest in peace of game balance. I mean, that's something that we always enjoy coming back in. You know, like Scum said before, you had the 2Ks, 4Ks, you had you know, you have the wagers, you have different of these kickoff tournaments that come out. And yeah, that's pretty much a cycle. Now it's just gonna be CMGs and Kai Agent wagers pretty much. But yeah, I mean that's the cycle until rank play comes out. But they said rank play will come out sooner, so there you go. And just how Sam was alluding to right now in this final screen that we're gonna show, the Royal Ravens they just tweeted out recently. Final Monday before we announce our roster, we pretty much know the roster. You got Vivid playing Flex, you got Tej, Gwen, and Slashers. So yeah, we're just waiting for that announcement to come out.
I will not confirm or deny that. I'll definitely spoil AM teams because like that don't even matter to me as much. But I'll let them have their own announcement, even though the whole world knows what the roster is already. It was supposed to be Mac there initially.
Yeah, wait. So is Mac not in that lineup anymore?
I can't say anything about Mac. That's my boy.
Interesting. No, that's you know, fair enough.
That's one. That's what. That's
Slasher is rumored for that lineup, right? That's still happening.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's
Austin.
probably the most interesting part about it is the fact that like Slasher's just topping.
I mean, if you hear that Austin's going somewhere, that means he's probably going there. That's all I'll say about Austin. Like he's such a big name in COD that like when you see him going somewhere, that usually means like, oh, he might be going here. He's probably going there. There's a pretty high chance of it. So I mean, the rest of them, I'll leave up to your guys' guess. I'm not gonna spoil that, but you know, there are some rosters that were built this year that I do truly believe will be pretty solid. To be honest with you, I don't think it's gonna be as bad. I think it's gonna be more competitive this year than it was last year. By like a very, very long stretch. Last year was. We can sit here and say that shit was competitive. There's 4 good teams, brother. There was 4 good teams, and the rest of the 8 of us were fighting for a chance.
Well, okay. I will say like there were moments where like Heretics and LAG.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
or LAT, sorry, not LAG. Oh god, not LAG. LAT were like competitive.
Yeah, I mean,
even, like Carolina as well. Like there are moments.
I think it's gonna be more consistently competitive. Let me rephrase that throughout the whole year this year. I think it's gonna be more spread. I think you'll have like 2 teams this year that are gonna be dominant, like in Atlanta and LAT. I think Optic should be. Okay, it's gonna be really up to them. They're coming off a world championship, and if history repeats itself and shows anything correct, after winning champs, some teams will come in with that championship hangover, and they won't be like locked in right away. So we'll see. I'm not gonna say they won't. They're the reigning champs right now. I'll give them their respect until they lose it, right? Until they lose it. But Atlanta and LAT are for sure, along with Optic, going to be good. I think there's going to be more of a space now to get into that top 4 spot. Last year, there was like really no chance for a team to get into that top 4 spot. The team that was in 5th was like 120 to 150 points almost behind the 4th place team. Okay, like you weren't getting to 4th. Like the 5th all the way down to like I think like 9th place us, we're all within like 20, 30 points of each other.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's competitive. I think that's just like teams fighting for scraps. I think once every team can compete with like the majority of the teams in the league, then it's a lot more competitive. I think Falcons is a team that people are going to doubt. I do think, like Kenny said, like they'll have like that moment where they start out hot, like Miami did in like their first set of qualifiers, and they fizzle out because they're going to have to get used to like the level of play here. It's a lot different than what they were just playing against over in Europe. So I think they have to get used to that. But even them, I think they'll be better than the Boston team last year. It's not hard, bro. Like they won what, like 4 series all year?
Yeah. But big
Like,
I mean, big shout out to Falcons. You know, I mean, they started off in
Yeah.
challengers. They did that for Marvel 3. We're gonna have Lou T. He was supposed to come on. We'll have Lou T talk about it in a different episode. But yeah, it's cool seeing the Falcons come on, and it's cool also seeing Gentlemates with Gotaga coming in. You know, but it's
Yep.
also, you know, they competed at EWC stuff, and just seeing them come in with their team, which looks pretty good too. I remember Optic, they said something about like, oh, they might be like trying to do what did they say? Like Cloud9 or Subliner 2.0 or something like that? What was it? Am I right about that? Or I can't remember.
So
Sky's
Subliners is both.
Kismet. You got Sky's Kismet, right? And then I forgot the other two. Oh, Lens. Sky's Kismet, Lens, and someone else. But I mean,
Oh,
it's
are you talking about Gentlemates?
yeah, Gentlemates.
Yeah. C9 is gonna take over the New York spot because that's already been announced. They bought them out at the end of last year,
Yeah,
so it'll no longer be Subliners anything. It'll be New York's Cloud9. I'm pretty sure.
it is. Yeah.
If I'm not
No,
mistaken.
that's right.
New York, yeah.
Yeah.
And from what I've been hearing, it's going to be Gentlemates taking over LAG spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'll be LA Gentlemates probably, I would assume, or LA M8 or something.
We don't know about that, but yeah.
I mean, they're allowing a lot of teams now to use like their org identity. Like we've been seeing that more and more teams coming in. Like C9 came in and they're allowing C9 to use theirs. They allowed FaZe to use theirs, Optic, LAT. And that wasn't supposed to happen, by the way, in the beginning of the CDL. You were not allowed to use like Optic or FaZe. You weren't supposed to be able to do that, like their likeness. You were supposed to have like your own team name essentially. And now that they've allowed so many in, like they might use it just because it's better for branding purposes for Gentlemates. Like they get more of like the publicity than their like random COD Twitter does. So I could see them like using it still. And I think the CDL is pretty much at like on their knees at the will of all the owners right now. I'm pretty sure they'll let any of them do whatever the fuck they want at this point.
Yeah. I want to thank Phoenix and Sam for coming on board. Thank you, Eileen, for always being here. And Nfinity, hopefully we see you around more often, you know? Like, oh, you're always
Yeah,
welcome to be on here. Yeah.
Thank you so much, mate.
Yep. All right. And yeah, if you guys can, please, you know, comment, like, subscribe, share this, you know, give us feedback. It'll help us even more. Try to make this more focused in challengers because we really don't get that much coverage and we should be getting more coverage. So yeah, I appreciate all you guys for watching and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.